You keep returning to the same emotional address, different job, different relationship, different city, and somehow, within months, the feeling in your chest is identical to the one you left behind. That pattern has a mechanism behind it, and once you see it, you'll understand why every external change you've made has felt temporary. By the end of this, you'll know how to reset the thermostat itself. Think about what happens in a house with the thermostat set to 68 degrees. You open a window in January. Cold air rushes in, the temperature drops, and the system kicks on, pumping heat until the room returns to 68. You could open every window in the house. The thermostat doesn't care about your reasons. It has one job: restore the set point. Your emotional system works the same way. You have a habitual feeling, a default inner climate you return to regardless of what's happening around you. Neville Goddard called this your state of consciousness. And he taught that your outer world is always rearranging itself to match that inner climate. So what does this look like in practice? You get the raise. For 2 weeks you feel expansive, generous, like the pressure has finally lifted. Then, a bill arrives you weren't expecting. Your car needs repairs. A friend asks to borrow money. Within a month, you're back to the same financial anxiety you had before the raise. The numbers changed. Your thermostat didn't. Or you leave a relationship that drained you. You feel free, light, like you can finally breathe. 6 months later, you're sitting across from someone new who triggers the exact same feeling of walking on eggshells. Different face, same emotional temperature in the room. This is where most people make a critical error. They blame the circumstances. They say, I have bad luck with money, or I always attract the wrong people. But the circumstances are the effect, the symptom. The thermostat, your habitual emotional home, is the cause. Goddard was explicit about this. Consciousness is the only reality. Everything in your outer world is a reflection of your inner state, projected onto the screen of space and time like a film. The thermostat gets set early. Childhood, mostly, you learn what's normal. If the house you grew up in vibrated at the frequency of scarcity, then scarcity feels like home to your body. Abundance feels foreign, disorienting, almost dangerous. Your system reads abundance the same way it would read a sudden loud noise. Something wrong, something to correct. So it corrects. It finds ways to drain the account, sabotage the opportunity, pick a fight with the person who loves you freely. The correction feels like bad luck. It's homeostasis. Here's where this gets uncomfortable. You are the thermostat. Every morning you wake up, and within seconds before your feet touch the floor, your body has already dialed back to its set point, that familiar heaviness in your stomach, that low hum of worry. That bracing feeling, like you're preparing for something to go wrong. You felt it so many times that it doesn't even register as a feeling anymore. It just feels like you. And that's the trap. When the feeling is invisible, when it's so constant that it becomes the wallpaper, you can't distinguish between who you are and how you habitually feel. You think the anxiety is you. You think the unworthiness is you. Goddard would say you've fallen asleep in a state. You've hypnotized yourself into believing that this emotional frequency is your identity. But a thermostat can be reset. That's the whole point. The reset begins with something Goddard called revision, and what many spiritual teachers describe as mental diet. Your mental diet is every thought you habitually entertain, every inner conversation you replay, every assumption you carry about yourself and your life. Most people's mental diet is catastrophic, an endless loop of worst-case scenarios, rehearsed arguments, and memories of failure playing on repeat behind their eyes while they smile and nod through their day. That inner soundtrack is the thermostat setting. Change the soundtrack, and the setting moves. This sounds simple. It is brutally difficult. Because the moment you begin to shift your inner state, the moment you start to genuinely feel abundant, or loved, or at peace, your system revolts. The revolt doesn't announce itself as fear. It disguises itself as logic. Be realistic. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. Who are you to feel this good? Those thoughts feel like wisdom. They feel like maturity. They're the thermostat kicking on, pumping cold air to bring you back to your set point. Goddard described a practice that cuts through this resistance. Every night before sleep, you replay the day, but you revise it. That conversation that went badly, you reimagine it going well. The rejection, you replace it with acceptance. The worry, you substitute the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You do this in vivid sensory detail, feeling it is real, until the revised version feels more natural than the memory of what actually happened. This is surgery on the thermostat. You're reaching into your subconscious, the part of you that actually controls the set point, and giving it new data. Why does this work? Because your deeper mind doesn't distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a lived one. When you fall asleep in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, night after night, your subconscious begins to accept that feeling as the new normal, the new set point. And once the set point moves, the external world has to rearrange. The thermostat demands it. But, and this is where most people quit, there's a gap, a lag between when the inner setting changes and when the outer world catches up. During that gap, your old circumstances are still reflecting the old setting. You're feeling wealthy inside, while your bank account still looks the same. You're feeling loved while sleeping alone. This gap is the test. Goddard called it the bridge of incidents, the series of events that will carry you from where you are to where your new state lives. You can't see the bridge while you're on it. You can only feel whether you're still holding the new state or whether you've collapsed back to the old one. Most people collapse. The evidence of their senses overwhelms the evidence of their imagination. They look at the bank account and feel scarcity. They look at the empty bed and feel lonely. And in that moment of feeling, they've just reset the thermostat back to its original position. The external shift that was forming, the job lead, the unexpected check, the person who was about to text, dissolves because the thermostat changed again. The discipline required here is genuinely fierce. You have to become someone who trusts their inner state more than their five senses. You have to walk through a room that looks exactly like your old life and feel, in your bones, in your gut, in the way you hold your shoulders, that you already live in the new one. That kind of sustained assumption takes daily practice. Morning and night, during the commute, in the shower, every time you catch yourself drifting back to the old frequency, you gently, firmly return to the new one. Like training a muscle, like learning a language. Accept the language is feeling, and the muscle is your attention. There's a subtlety here that changes everything. You're not trying to create a new feeling through force. You're letting go of the effort it takes to maintain the old one. Think about that. Your current emotional set point requires maintenance. Every anxious thought is an act of maintenance. Every worst-case scenario you rehearse is you actively, deliberately keeping the thermostat where it is. You've just been doing it so long that the effort is invisible. Shifting your state isn't adding something new. It's releasing the grip on something exhausting. A genuine skeptic within the spiritual framework might say, if consciousness creates reality, why can't I just think one positive thought and change everything? Because a single thought against a lifetime of habitual feeling is like opening one window against a furnace running full blast. The thermostat wins. The shift happens through accumulated feeling, through living in the new state so persistently that your subconscious has no choice but to update its records. One night of revision won't do it. 30 nights starts to move things. 90 nights, and you'll barely recognize your inner landscape. The outer one will follow, because it always follows. It has no choice but to follow. Your comfort zone has a temperature. You set it years ago, probably before you had any say in the matter. Every circumstance that keeps showing up, the financial ceiling, the relationship pattern, the career plateau, is just the thermostat doing its job. Faithfully, precisely, the system works perfectly. It's been working perfectly this whole time. The question was never whether the system works. The question is whether you'll reach over and change the setting. Tonight, before you close your eyes, choose one area of your life where the thermostat has been running the show. Feel, really feel in your body what it would be like if that area were already exactly as you desire. Hold that feeling like a warm coal in your chest. Fall asleep with it. And when you wake tomorrow when your old emotional climate tries to reassert itself within the first 10 seconds, notice it. Catch the hand reaching for the dial. And choose the new temperature again. The thermostat only holds power while you forget you're the one who set it.